Bob, you were talking about the pictures that you have taken and which are there in this book. You know, one thing that I missed, there are no pictures of body bags, of American body bags.
It's a difficult topic to request. And when you, in fact, it's sort of a sanitized version of the fact that soldiers do die in combat, yes. But with respect to their families and certain Pentagon rules about wounded and dead, it's pretty much hands-off on the ground. Yes, they did allow some access in the hospitals on specific request. But the bodies were returned to the U.S. There was access. Not in the very beginning, but caskets coming off the plane in Dover, Delaware, for instance. Yes, it is available. I mean, it's not censored.
You know, you have pictures here of for instance, Hamid Gul. Obviously, you met him, and did you meet him often?
Yes, I saw him quite a few times.
What did you make of him? Because he seems to have been the main sort of spy master for the Pakistanis in Kabul.
What was very interesting, Saeed, in the beginning when I went to Pakistan to cover their Independence Day, I, early on in the 90s, asked all of my Pakistani colleague friends, who is Hamid Gul? Because he was in the bandstand, he was in the bleacher seats. No one knew what he looked like, including some of the top journalists in Pakistan at the time. They couldn't find him, they couldn't pick him out who he was. So finally we did get to meet him in an operation called Zarbi Momin, which took place in the Punjab, in the Sindh area, and that's where he came out sort of into the limelight. So yes, I did follow him. He's
What kind of a man was he?
Very intelligent, charismatic, and
you see,
forthright.
You have written here, it's very interesting what he says. He says here, Hamid Gul, chief of the ISI, the Pakistani intelligence agency in Kabul, he supports the Taliban and global jihad. Was that the way you knew him?
At that time, that particular picture was done in the early 90s. He was there to try to broker peace between Burhanuddin Rabbani and Hekmatyar forces. So that was his role there. But, you know, he was up to his neck in all of the operations through Pakistan. He was a product of President Zia, corps commander, and ethnically certainly tied very closely to the region, and very anti-Indian as well.
And now very anti-American, you know that.
I've known that for a long time. Yes.
Why?
He would express it. He would express it.
Why is he anti the Americans now? What would he have been happy with if the Americans had done what?
That transition from more of a politician's acceptance of America as a power, and where he turned to be anti-American, I'm not sure what happened there. But I'm sure Iraq didn't inspire him, really, to continuing to support America.
The other pictures here are the Soviet Army, the pictures of the Soviet Army. And what is this at Khost Airport in 1991, at Khost?
The major tribal warlord in that area, Jalaluddin Haqqani, had made numerous attempts throughout the 10 years of jihad to take over Khost province, which was at that point manned very seriously by Uzbek fighters, the most hated between the Pashtuns and their enemy being the Uzbeks, were sent down there to block entry and to chase the jihadis coming across from Pakistan. But Haqqani's tribe straddles the border. The Zadrans are on both sides of the border, and he has a huge commercial interest in serving both sides of the border.
What commercial interest is
anything that passes through from Pakistan into Afghanistan? There is a crossing there. He gets a piece of everything, from the wood, tea, salt,
Did you meet him?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of him? Because he is Haqqani. I asked Hamid Karzai one. I says, you are worried about the Taliban in Pakistan. I said, what did you think of Haqqani? He said, I hate him the most. You think that is still the case?
Could very well be, yes. He's not really part of the Kandahar Taliban.
Yes.
He's a separate orbit.
Yes.
And he's an asset for Pakistan, certainly. Always has been.
Right.
And has been protected. But also the CIA, remember, funneled a lot of money and munitions through that region of his. He gained. But he's also one of the first people to inspire global jihad. He was one of the first Islamic fighters to go to the Middle East, to Jeddah and Mecca, and raise money for world jihad, for fighting.
Right.
He wasn't necessarily anti-West. He just felt it needed to be borderless.
Was this under the auspices of Osama bin Laden?
He probably came to note of Osama bin Laden then. I don't believe they met there, but he was very friendly with the Arab-Afghan fighters. They did not, the Arab-Afghans were not feeling comfortable in Nangarhar in the east.
Yes, yes.
They got along famously with him in the southeast.
Osama, did you meet him?
I did not.
You have no pictures of Osama bin Laden. Are you convinced that he was killed in that house in Abbottabad? I mean, there are American journalists who say it was not him. You have Seymour Hersh challenging that story.
As well as the Twin Towers, that was a conspiracy as well? Come on, please.
Well, no, but I'm talking about some of your journalists who say that.
They're perfect. They have every right to say it. We did not see a body, but yes, I believe he's no longer.
Do you actually see the Americans leave, come what may, at the end of 2014?
No, I do not. I believe there will be engagement. It'll go on. But at what number at this point, it's hard to say. What number of troops they'll keep behind. But certainly the air bases are strategic. They want them to maintain them. Bagram is as big as Indira Gandhi International Airport, if not bigger. It's huge. And I don't think they plan to give that up. Speaking as a journalist.
Yes. Yeah, but do you think Karzai can survive? But Karzai, in any case, his time is up. So
yes. But everybody's jockeying for position at this point. He's trying to keep his opposition, whoever they are, the candidates, off balance a little bit. And he's also trying to gain and leverage his withdrawal, rather than be his own withdrawal, rather than be a lame duck.
Some years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, General Cal McChrystal, he came out with the theory that to have cooperation from Pakistan in Afghanistan, you've got to have Indians off our back inside. In other words, Indian presence in Afghanistan was somehow obstructing American efforts to have Pakistani cooperation. Could you dilate on that?
India's foreign policy is complicated. It's certainly relevant to South Asia and the region that I worked in. The fight between Pakistan, the challenges between India and Pakistan remain regardless of Afghanistan. It's playing out there a little bit. But Pakistan is renowned for creating insecurity to protect its own security. So I'm not quite sure what Stan McChrystal, by the way, was his name,
yes,
what he really had in mind. But it wasn't something, it was certainly something he had to deal with. And he wasn't going to be able to go into Pakistan to pick out those bases of the Taliban. So he was trying a different tact, I have a feeling.
You know, when I was in Kabul, which is a year ago, I stayed in the Serena Hotel, and I found that actually Indians were quite liked. And my friends from across the border in Pakistan, they would get by, they felt secure in Kabul if they were taken to be Indians. Now, why would that be?
Afghans and Indians get along famously. They have culturally, and prior to the Russians coming in, also for studies at Dehradun and the Foreign Ministry, medicine, science, whatever, the scholars would come across. There was a lot of interchange between that way, plus the movies and the music, famous in Kabul.
If you go to a place called Saket here in New Delhi, there's a whole row of hospitals. And you pelt a stone in any direction and you will hit an Afghan. And right in front of the hospitals, you've got all these Afghan kebab shops have come up. So therefore there is this, the fact that Indians have roads, they're building roads, hospitals,
infrastructure.
That is, so long as Indians are not in there with anything lethal. I mean, they're tired with people coming in with armaments and more gunneries. I think that is somehow...
Certainly. Yes, and that should be the way it plays out, actually. I think that Pakistan is looking at an uphill battle for the next few years about how it maintains peace and security in its own country, as well as stability in the border areas and in Afghanistan. And India certainly is watching very closely.
You know, recently, let me read this to you, the Afghan government revived the annual commemoration of the Pashtunistan Day, the old rhetoric. Now, this is a red rag to the Pakistanis. Now, why would he be doing this now, Karzai?
Afghans are not very happy with Pakistan's participation in their country, and it's hit them off balance. They're on one foot constantly in dealing with Pakistan, and with both feet on the ground, I think, in many respects, in dealing with India. So it's another way of showing their displeasure.
Yes. Well, I mean...
And there's a lot of activity now in that border region with the Pakistani army chasing TTP and the Pakistani Taliban.
Is there any coordination, just final question, is there any cooperation possible between the Taliban in Kandahar region and the ones in Waziristan and the ones that the Pakistanis control?
Well, there are many scenarios here, but certainly there's probably a plan afloat to separate them. But I don't know how you can, geographically.
How do you explain the sudden burst of bombardment of Waziristan in the last 15 days or so? What strategy could the Pakistan army or the Pakistani state is pursuing now?
I really can't answer that. I'm not able to get anywhere close, and I haven't seen much success from their previous bombardments, personally, just reading the news and what they gained from a treaty and then bombardment, treaty and then a bombardment. So they may have something else afoot.
Your 20 years experience, we shall come back. Time is running out. Otherwise, we could have carried on talking about your experience in the field in Afghanistan, maybe on the second round, Bob, when you are here. We'll get you in on another conversation. Thank you very much,
Thank you for
Bob.
having me.
So that was a conversation with somebody who spent the last 2 decades, more or less, in the region. We only concentrated on Afghanistan because that is where his book is actually about, his photographs and his writings in Afghanistan. We shall resume on another night. Until then, goodbye.